Hey everybody, this is Sophia Florence, one of the hosts of the Crumbling podcast, and I'm here to tell you that we have new tiers on Patreon. And I know what you're thinking. Do I want to pay more for this podcast? Hell yeah, because you're going to get some cool shit with it. Our early supporter tier is now one of the new ones. Obviously, we have the old Help Us Grow one, which is just $3 a month. That gives you access to our episodes early and gives you access to our special episodes called Crumbs. The early supporter tier, which is $6 a month, gives you early access to the episodes like the other one, gives you some exclusive behind-the-scenes content. So there could be clips, bloopers, more other things that we'll be adding to the Patreon. A physical sticker pack, which is fun and themed designs produced by our illustrator, Chris Terendi. Patreon-only updates and polls that'll help shape our future content. So that'll be really exciting if you want to kind of be more of an active participant in what we're doing here. And it's, just kind of a perfect thing for fans who want a sneak peek and exclusive goodies. There's some really fucking cool designs. I can't wait till y'all see them. If you want to go a little bit more than that, we have the super fan tier that is $20 a month. That gives you early access to all the episodes. It gives you those behind the scenes episodes and extras. It'll give you access to something that the other ones don't have, which is a limited edition t-shirt. We've got one right now. It's super cool. I am not even going to show it to you guys. Probably have more designs over the years. If you want the shirt, come get it. It's $20 a month for that. Ideal for anyone who loves merch. They want to, tell people about our podcast and they don't want to actually talk about it. Some of us are introverts. You don't want to talk about shit. You just want to be a billboard, and I'm cool with that. And also, it's the same art that's on the stickers. It is super rad, and 40% of the tier's proceeds go directly to supporting our illustrator's work. That is Chris Terendi. He's at Chris Terendi, Tirendi art.com. ChrisTerendiart.com. Give it a look. I hope that some of you will join, and I hope that you will take part in some polls and tell us what you want. We want to make the content that you want within the confines of the stuff that we like to do. Please go to our Patreon, patreon.com/The Crumbling Podcast, and join today. All right, welcome to The Crumbling Podcast, a show about how Ayn makes me randy. No, not actually, I promise. Just kidding. We're a show about how our sense of reality is crumbling and what all we can do to fit it back together a little bit. I'm your host, Sophia Florence, and I'm here with my co-host,
V.
And tonight we are joined for a second episode in a row by Laura Jedeed. Laura is my favorite journalist, and I genuinely mean that. I will never say it to anyone else, I promise. She's got bylines in The New Republic, Rolling Stone, The Nation, Politico, and of course on her own website, bandinYourState.com, which will be in the show notes for your clicking pleasure. Seriously, click on it, be pleasured. There's a lot of politics and one very good article about how cool and sadly maligned coyotes are.
Love a good coyote.
Yeah, is that a good intro? Did I get it?
I feel great about that intro. Thank you.
Great. All right, nailed it. How are you doing in general?
It's fine. It's fine. I'm fine. Mostly, personally, I'm fine. How are you doing? How are you both doing?
just two shocked faces. I am doing fine personally. The dishwasher lit on fire at work yesterday. That ended up okay. The world is on fire. And I hope that ends up okay, but I'm fine. Things are, in a way.
You are literally the dog with things on fire.
Yeah.
Hey, wait, we're at a table too. You just need the coffee mug, and then and the hat.
Yeah.
You could cosplay as the this is fine dog.
I should. I should one of these days.
I'm fine as far as I know. I'm behind on the things that I need to do, which is very stupid of me. Anyway,
yes.
That was just like, oh no, and I refuse to email, which is bad. Okay.
Yeah, my editor's listening to this. I am so sorry.
Oh boy, yeah.
I'm so sorry.
It's not coming out for another 2 weeks. You've got time.
Oh, good.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
We are in a time pocket.
I love this. Yeah.
Actually, I think you have 3 weeks on this one.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, if I don't have it in by then, I will be dead. So it's fine.
Oh, God,
you will have killed me, I assume. So it'll be fine.
Please, no, bad.
From beyond the grave.
Yeah. So the topic of our last episode was Ayn Rand, and that's, also the topic of this episode. Laura was raised by objectivists, or followers of Ayn Rand's philosophy. I've been wanting to have this conversation with her on the show for a long time, and the time has finally come to get into it. So, qualitative question, how was being raised by objectivists? Did you guys have a community of other objectivists around, or was it kind of a solitary thing, or what does that look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. It was both at different times. There have been times where there was a community. For a lot of it, it was pretty solitary. fun thing about radical individualists is that there tend to be schisms like kind of a lot. So it's not like a very stable group. But yeah, I mean, I grew up definitely, we had the Objective Standard in our house, which is like a little magazine. We listened to lectures in the car. And I do want to just preface this by saying, like, I am on good terms with my parents. I love them very much. There's a lot of really great things about them. I do not agree with their philosophy, and I do not think it's a great way to raise a kid. So anyway, that's my little disclaimer there.
Yeah, one of the things that I want to do here and always on this show is humanize the people that are even reactionaries, like even like the people on the worst end of things. Like, I think dehumanization is bad. We did a whole thing with David Livingstone Smith. We discussed dehumanization quite a lot. And so always want to be clear, like, I'm never trying to dehumanize anyone on the show. Even Ayn Rand, like, she was a person with like a lot of deep trauma. You don't write like that unless some shit fucked you up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of that may just be ideological shit. Sometimes ideology fucks us up more than anything else, but that's trauma too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That disclaimer was more for, just,
yeah.
For my relationship with my family, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry and I love you very much. So, okay. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did your parents get into Ayn Rand in the first place? Like, many conservatives are fans of her work, but I think it's rare for people to come wrapped up in the philosophy by like self-identifying.
Yeah, no, it is. It's like, there are dozens of them, But yeah, so I think both of them, I mean, as one does, read Ayn Rand in high school and or early college. My stepfather, who is my father, read it in college. My mother read it in college as well, I believe. It really resonated. And I think for my mother especially, who grew up in a very evangelical is not the right word, very Christian conservative household, very authoritarian, very restrictive. And she credits Ayn Rand with bringing her out of that and allowing her to have a life outside of this like kind of dogmatic Christianity. Now, I think there's a lot of dogma in Ayn Rand as well. I think that there's some one-for-one substitutions there, but that is why she got into it.
Yeah. I mean, that might make it easier to come out into that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Where like, and you could see the same thing with like, new atheist kind of thing where like Ayaan Hirsi Ali, who was like, famously part of that group.
Yes.
And I think later kind of recanted a lot of that.
I think she converted to Christianity, I believe. She's
interesting.
gone. Yeah, she's had an interesting trajectory.
Interesting. I haven't followed a lot of it, but like when people leave conservative religion, like I was an evangelical when I grew up, I went through a phase of trying out philosophies. Like it was hard to find something that I could land on and that I felt comfortable with. And like the whole thing with a lot of those conservative Christianity kind of things, you are trying to, one, replace meaning, which is really fucking difficult. And two, trying to replace community. That's not easy work. And if you find dogma comforting, which a lot of people do, it's nice to know what the fuck to do. Like not having a philosophy to adhere to means that you are stranded.
Floating.
Just trying to figure out what to do with yourself. And I think most of us are just kind of bumbling around through life. So it's a pretty difficult thing to do.
No, and it's distressing to realize that there are some situations where every single choice is bad. And I think a philosophy like Objectivism in Christianity as well offers the perspective of never having to face that. There's always a good choice. There's always the right moral choice that will make you happy. And that's not true. Sometimes life gives you choices where every single one of them is awful. And you're never going to be sure you did the right thing. Life is squishy like that, but it's a scary thing to face, I think. So,
uncertainty is not a thing that makes most people happy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I respect people, finding that level of certainty there.
It is nice. I would never want to go back to that, but it was nice to feel that sense of like real righteousness. There's some other things that you feel as an objectivist that I don't think are they're awful. But that one was nice. Knowing for sure that you were right was really nice. That was cool.
Yeah, I think religion and like some philosophy always offers that. Even the real devout Marxists. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, yeah.
Like they're like the divine science. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Or the immortal science. Sorry, divine science, immortal science.
It's tomato. Honestly,
feels the same.
Yeah. No, people like quoting him like, this is how history is going to go. It's like, no, it hasn't gone like that. Maybe he was just a guy who had some good ideas. Maybe you need to relax a little bit. I don't know.
So were other family members outside of your parents objectivists or just the parents?
No, just the parents. My mother, very Christian family, and most of them are Christian. One of my uncles is now a wonderful hippie kind of like environmentalist guy. He's fantastic. Father, his family was like mildly religious. And then my actual father, who died when I was 6, whom, immigrated from Syria, from a family of Marxist politicians.
Fascinating.
And yes.
Holy moly.
Read Ayn Rand in college and decided that was better than the thing he'd left behind, which it is a little bit funny to me that I have now, without ever really having met that side of the family, become really quite close to the idea of, a leftist politician type person.
Yeah.
So if anyone out there knows Middle Eastern history, the name Jedeed will ring some bells.
Fascinating.
Yeah. My family was briefly in charge of Syria before Assad. So,
Oh.
Yeah. It was,
hot damn.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about like trauma that you've been through. Like, I mean, that was horrific, I think, growing up as somebody who was very much on the outs. The family was not doing well. Most of the men in the family were imprisoned. They were very poor. They were depending on charity from family. He came over as a Marxist and then discovered Ayn Rand. And I think there's trauma. I feel like I didn't really thought about it, but I think maybe trauma feeds into all of it.
Yeah, I think a lot of times when people are looking for like a dogmatic ideology to follow, like that is something that leads into that, because you're coming out of a place of like deep uncertainty and you need to find that new thing that makes you feel certain, like you have that comfort. Like, at least I am myself, at least there is some part of me that is under my control.
Yeah. And at least maybe I can protect myself against ever being in that situation ever again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think, Rand was terrified of Stalinism, which me too. Same.
Yeah.
I don't want to live under that. Horrible, awful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Of course that would turn you into, No, I remember when I was in one of my classes, I think it might have been a peace and conflict class, we were introduced to the concept of post-memory, which is like something that kind of happens after genocide, serious trauma, serious trauma, and like how it affects people who have not been through it, but are related. For instance, like I started thinking about it in regards to my family because they are still very impacted. Like when you talk to like my grandma and stuff like that, she was impacted by people who in her family ended up getting told, no Irish need to apply and stuff like that. Kind of, it gets like passed down. And it was interesting concept. Like it's why the children of Holocaust survivors like are kind of like freaked out and screwed up.
Yeah.
So
it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you grow up hearing about your parents' trauma, like you're always going to be like on guard for whatever that is, right? Yeah. Especially if you've seen it or you've seen like the worst effects of it and you're like, I don't want that to happen to me because I don't want to fall into whatever kind of despair people fall into after. Yeah.
Man.
Light stuff, huh?
Yeah, very, very. Yeah, whoop. So is Randoid a slur?
Not what I've heard, but I kind of love it.
Interesting. Okay. So on a more serious note, what is your take on Rand's comments on indigenous people and Palestinians? She's talked about how racism is just a form of collectivism and ergo evil, but she has some wildly racist takes on these topics. I'm curious.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's that good. It's that good Northern racism. Like, I mean, I'm using American terms here, where it's like it's the culture you hate. It's not the race. It's the culture, though. The culture is bad. It's like funny how everyone in the culture has a skin tone that's different than yours. That's weird how that. Yeah, but she has a whole thing. But like the indigenous people deserve to lose their land because they weren't using it, which is an insane take for somebody who thinks that property and human life are exactly the same in worth. It's a crazy thing. It's a justification, I think the thing about arguing from first principles, which is what this is, and what a lot of right-wing thought is, that, with or without Rand's influence, this idea, like you start with the first principle and you can reason your way to a conclusion. That's motivated reasoning. That's because there's no empiricism in there. You decide what you want to be true. My ancestors did nothing wrong, and then you get there.
I never thought about that as motivated reasoning. Like obviously, like I'm interested in the idea that like, this is some deontological thing, whether like there is a categorical imperative, there are things that you must and must not do. Right. But you're right. Like a lot of that does kind of beg a specific conclusion that they are often looking for. And I think for some people it's convenient, and for some people it's just an ideology that they are born into or fall into for, one reason or another.
Yeah, definitely.
Like to put it in reference, I didn't know I was an evangelical growing up. You don't know that. They don't call themselves evangelicals. They call themselves born-again Christians.
Right.
Or they just say, we're non-denominational, we're Christians, whatever, we're Protestants, like of some kind. Like, that you're not Catholic, but you don't know what you actually are. So I was curious, was there like a moment like that for you where you're like, oh, my family practices this particular philosophy on life and...
Yeah, not at all. No, I always knew. I mean, she was very proud of it. I mean, we were Objectivists. We were followers of Ayn Rand. We had all the books in the house. We listened to the lectures. I was never confused about what we were.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's fascinating.
So that's like from an early age.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Wow.
No, it's a weird thing. I don't remember ever really. I mean, of course she told me about it. Of course I read the books as I got older, like The Fountainhead, which again, do not read that if you haven't read a sex scene before. It is a terrible idea that will. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. So, but yeah. I mean, I was always very much aware of it. We would go to lectures. I remember one of the first questions I ever asked at a lecture. I was pretty young and I wanted to know why evil people did the things. Like, surely they didn't think they were evil things. So like, what was that about? And I did not get a satisfactory answer to that. And that wasn't like the start of anything, because Ayn Rand's villains are very like, comic book, I will destroy the good, like literally hatred of the good for being the good. And like, I was just like, that doesn't seem true. That doesn't seem right. Like nobody's like that.
Yeah.
People always think they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. Yeah.
Do you remember what the answer was? What did they tell you?
I think it was something like they think it's the right thing. I mean, it wasn't a very deep answer, but it was like they think it's right, but it's not. I don't remember much more than that, but I remember I wasn't super satisfied with the answer.
Yeah.
It just felt a little empty and I felt like there had to be more, which, then I went on to basically, I feel like my entire career has kind of been that.
Yeah, trying to understand that question.
Yeah. Why do people do the things they do when they're awful?
And it turns out that it's just complicated and mushy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, sad. Oh, God. And just,
Very, very.
Oh, well.
People, complex. Why?
Very.
Indeed.
I should stop.
Couldn't we be easier? I don't know.
It would be nice. What ended up bringing you out of the philosophy, movement, ideology? Was it a process or was it pretty sudden?
Oh, it was a process. I was in the military. I joined right out of high school. I grew up watching Fox News as well, and I was very invested in this whole idea of the war on terror. I loved the idea of bringing democracy to like the people who wanted it, like this whole thing about people yearning to be free. Hook, line, and sinker. I bought that shit. And then I went to Afghanistan, and it became very clear very quickly that was not the case. The Afghans did not want us there. And furthermore, as the second deployment we're on, I was like, if I was in their position, I too would be shooting at us. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, who are we to tell them how to live their lives? And that was like, it was like, I've been lied to. I wonder what else I've been lied to about. It took years. I mean, it was years and years of like slowly realizing that the things I'd been taught didn't really hold up under scrutiny. In 2011, I had a huge personal tragedy. Whatever, you know what? Yeah, I had a boyfriend kill himself and blame me for it in a note. And I've never talked about that before, so here we are, publicly. But that was a moment where when you're faced with something like that and you realize that you can't have a philosophy that tells you that there are good people and bad people and that if you're a bad person, you're bad all the way down.
Yeah.
And that like mistakes are irredeemable. I mean, there's a character in Atlas Shrugged who realizes she's made a mistake in her love life and commits suicide immediately. That's Ayn Rand's answer. And you can't survive something like that, believing that. So you have to change. So I did. Anyways, that was something.
Thank you for being vulnerable with that. We've been friends for years, and I didn't know that.
That's not something I talk about very much at all.
Of course,
no.
I could imagine that being very difficult to talk about.
Yeah.
So,
really,
thank you, but also like. I think that Rand being somebody who's, kind of obsessed with Aristotle, Plato, like that old academic Greek philosophy, those guys were also very comfortable with suicide. Even
super comfortable. Poison chalices and everything.
Socrates is held up as the model of man, right? Like
drinking his hemlock. Yeah.
And, even going on many years later to guys like Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius even says, like, if you feel like you got to kill yourself, just do it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
if life becomes unbearable and, then you get to Camus and he says the only real serious philosophical question is suicide.
I don't entirely disagree with that, honestly.
Yeah. I fucking love Camus. I feel like he was onto something there. Yeah. But he also determines by the end that you should not kill yourself, and that even if life has absolutely no meaning, you can still find happiness, even if there's just nothing. Like he says, Sisyphus must be happy, which, Sisyphus, a guy that's forced to roll a boulder up and down a hill for eternity. And he says, Sisyphus has to be happy.
Maybe he's psyched about rolling the boulder up and down the hill. You don't know.
Well, at some point, you might become that way. You know what I mean? You're just like, okay, that's life. That's life. Let me get my gains. Like, fuck, I don't know.
Does he ever get to nap?
I don't know, but Sisyphus is probably ripped.
Yeah.
It's true. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. Beyond.
That's some manosphere person should like make a workout program, like a Sisyphean workout program. Like you never stop. You never stop rolling that boulder. You fucking pussy. You never stop. Where are you? Keep rolling it. Anyway, I'm gonna make this happen.
Oh my God.
I need to see this now.
God, I feel like we just need to make the video of that.
Yeah.
I don't know who we know that looks like a manosphere guy, but we can find one.
We need to get someone who's super ripped to just, you do this every day. Oh yeah, this could be
Yeah. So outside of Rand's philosophy as a kid, were you introduced to other right-wing thinkers? Was it sort of just, Rand was sort of it?
Yeah. So that's, I think, a really interesting question. My parents would tell you, and I think they mean it, they do not consider themselves Republican. They do tend to vote Republican. I'm very proud of them for not voting for Trump. They despise him. Not all objectivists despise Trump. A lot of them are super big fans, which is interesting because...
That is really fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
He is not a good fit for their model.
No, he is not. And yet, a lot of them are very psyched. Ayn Rand has an intellectual heir because that's the kind of person she was, and her intellectual heir endorsed Trump. I feel like there's a lot to unpack there. Luckily my parents aren't among that group. Very grateful for that. But before that, they mostly, voted Republican. And we weren't super involved in politics. Objectivists tend to not be. We had a lot of ideas about philosophy, but we weren't politically active. There's not a lot of talk about government in Atlas Shrugged or the Fountainhead. It's just a thing that does bad stuff. You never hear about voting. You never hear, it's just not it's not a thing. It's not a factor.
Yeah. It's like people aren't quite engaged in that way. And their sole political act is participation in the market, really.
Yeah, exactly. I was fascinated from a very early age. I was very interested in politics for whatever reason. And so I would pester my mom to talk about it. But, it was, and she had, she certainly had political opinions and we certainly talked about them. But, but it wasn't we didn't we weren't hitting the streets or campaigning for anybody or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that your parents didn't vote for Trump. So did they go for the Libertarians or?
They do not like the Libertarians. Most objectivists really don't like Libertarians.
Yeah,
they feel like they're, and I think this is probably true. Libertarians kind of have the trappings of objectivism, but they don't really have the core philosophy. So it's they're kind of just faux what they really are. And I don't particularly care for objectivists, but objectivism as a philosophy, but I get why they would be irritated at libertarians being and we should legalize all drugs and pedophilia. It's that's not, they're not with us. What the hell is this?
It's who is this guy? I feel like the anarcho-capitalists are like that, but you got, your Gary Johnson guys who are
oh, I was such a fan of Gary Johnson. I'm not
he's such
proud
a
to say it.
Fucking normal guy.
Yeah, and it's just a regular dude.
I like Gary Johnson as a human being. I don't agree with everything he says politically, but I feel like I could have a beer with Gary Johnson, a really good conversation, sit down with him, and be that's a pretty fucking normal dude.
Yeah. His 2012 campaign, I guess it would have been. I was a little involved in that. I was an adult at that point.
Yeah.
And I got to meet him. Me and my then husband were big donors because I was still at that time very much in the school of maybe I don't strictly believe in Ayn Rand, but I do subscribe to this general milieu. I was a member of the Libertarian Party, all of it. And that was the first time I really spent a lot of time with other libertarians. And it was everybody here sucks ass. Everybody here is the worst.
Yeah.
So it's these people they're terrible. This isn't good either,
I fell down that rabbit hole a little bit when I was in my late teens, early 20s. And it was because I lost a debate online to a libertarian. And but I hadn't developed a lot of ideas on political theory at that point. I was quite young when that happened. And I was more into the ecological anarchism kind of subset of things. And I had lost a debate with, he's actually a singer in a band. Look What I Did is the name of the band. They're a hardcore band. The guy's name is Barry Donegan. They did a re-recording of the Jesus Christ Superstar soundtrack with the band Foxy Shazam, which actually is really fucking good. So I don't know. But I didn't have a comeback for what this guy was saying because I was I'd like to live this particular way, this kind of almost rewilding kind of thing, because I didn't know what the fuck to do with myself when I was younger. And I just felt like civilization had gone wrong. In general, I had sort of gotten into that anti-civ thing. I clearly realized much later that that's insane. But he was you could live that way if you had a government that left you alone to do so. And I didn't really have...
No, it sounds really good.
Yeah, no,
it sounds really good.
It's good on paper, not so good in practice, you know?
I didn't have the ammo for that. I didn't have anything to do with it. I was okay, I guess I'm one of these folks. And so I lurked around those circles for quite a few years. And which is also why I have a lot of the background knowledge for this particular series, and actually our whole podcast in general, because I had sat around people in right-wing politics, I had started to see the beginnings of the alt-right, which had come out of the libertarian movement.
It's wild. I mean, it's not really wild, but it's on paper, that's wild. On paper, that shouldn't happen. And then when as this series is doing, you look and it's oh no, this does make sense.
It's there's always a core seed of it. And the seed is always elitism, right? It is elitism. It is feeling special. And not that people shouldn't feel special about themselves.
Yeah, but not at the expense of everyone else.
Exactly.
That's it.
And that was a thread with Mencken. It's a thread with Nock. It's a thread with de Tocqueville. It's
Rand.
We haven't talked about de Tocqueville, but Rand is on the same same track. And it's just kind of a thing that happens in that kind of philosophy, right? Like it's almost valuing the individual to a degree that everyone else becomes devalued. Like, it's broken.
Extremely.
But like a lot of the people that believe in it are good people. And there are like principled libertarians out there that are like fucking wonderful people. And there are also like, we've talked about it before, like the libertarian socialists, which like, I would say that the most of my ideas come out of that camp, but I am also, halfway in between the industrial workers of the world, libertarian, socialist, syndicalist position, and halfway in between, a Eugene Debs kind of position. I'm comfortable working with the state. It's sort of like the neutral good on the D&D character axis. Like, I don't value the state in and of itself, but I am comfortable working with the state because I see that there are some things that the state maybe does better than other things. Like I don't think that decentralized medicine is a good idea.
Yeah. No, that doesn't seem good. Yeah.
Or even really decentralized, food distribution, these kinds of things. But for stuff like video games, I'm like, why would I want the government to run that? I don't.
That's silly.
I can't think of a world in which allowing the government to run media specifically would be particularly good. Like, I do love that we have public media. I love that, England and Canada also have public media, but it can't be all of the media coming from, a government source that gets into a dangerous place.
Yeah. I mean, to me, the state is a way that we deal with the free rider problem. Like, mostly that's just what it is. Like, it's a way to organize our resources so that we can have public goods.
Correct.
Yeah. Like,
that's it.
Yeah. That's all it is. It's not some evil thing. And, it can be, it can be evil, but that's, like, ideally, it's just a thing that organizes to make sure that we all have nice things.
Correct. So for those who are listening and aren't aware of your writing, probably not many, we hype you up a lot, and you've been on the show before, how are you feeling about the state of politics right now?
And I guess one addendum to this question is like, what do you feel like the contribution of like objectivism, of libertarianism to the state of politics right now is?
I think that's a really, 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 really good question. I mean, I think it's not an accident that the alt-right came out of like the Ron Paul libertarians. I don't think it's an accident that a lot of objectivists like Donald Trump. I think it does come out of this view that some people are better than other people. And I don't mean like more talented or like, more virtuous or more, I mean like literally better, like at their core. Like, this is very compatible
superiority.
With yeah. And it's like, it also develops, and this is something like, if you believe that, then you are in a very weird position all the time where you kind of have to prove that you're like worthy of being alive. Because if you're like a looter or a moocher, you're not really, you have no value. So you are in this state of kind of constant terror where you have to be one of the good people, which means other people kind of have to be the bad people. I feel like that's like a direction it can go. And I feel like that's the direction it has gone. This is like a common thread. I'm not saying that white supremacy and objectivism are the same, but white supremacy, it's like, I have to be good because someone else has to be bad. And I need to be able to look in the mirror and prove it to myself. Like I need to know that I'm good. I'm one of the good guys. And there's just, there's this desperation to be good. I am weirdly optimistic about politics right now in a way. Like
it's a little strange, isn't it? Like I've had the same thing.
Yeah, it's like I'm not optimistic about like the near-term future. I think we're in for a really bad time. I think it's going to be really bad. I think it's going to be worse than a lot of people think it's going to be. But I do think that we come out of this with a better idea of what's good and what humans can do. I mean, we're seeing stuff like in LA, a whole community pulling together to resist armed masked gunmen. There was a guy in the Bronx, a baseball coach, who, when he saw ICE agents questioning his kids he was teaching, was like, no, you don't answer them. They plead the fifth, get the hell out. Yeah. These are like small, just regular people doing regular brave things. And this, I don't know, I feel like America's stronger than we think. And I think America is going to know that eventually.
Yeah. I feel like, not to say that like politicians always give me hope, but folks like, Zoran Mamdani, like you... Kat, like you have these people who were not like, Mamdani was, he's involved in state politics in New York, but he wasn't like, this big high up guy. He's an assemblyman, and he said, I'm going to come for the biggest swinging dick in the entire country, which is being the mayor of New York.
We like a David versus Goliath, situation.
It is that, and David is fucking crushing it. That man is unstoppable. Like
he's amazing.
Unless something absolutely horrible comes out about him, he's not going to be derailed. And God forbid that happens.
I hope that doesn't happen. I hope they don't detain him at the border. He's now. I just hope well, not at the time that you're listening to this, but at the time that we're recording this.
Yeah.
So here's hoping that you don't know something horrible that we don't. I'm like, I mean, the thing about Zoran, and I think Kat too, like it's this relentlessly, it's a positive campaign. Like, I mean, they're saying we'll resist Trump, but it's also like, Zoran, like we're going to make the buses free because New York is impossible to get around if you have any kind of disabilities. We're going to make the buses free. We're going to freeze the rent. These are concrete things that will make people's lives actually better. They're not like being like, we are the last bastions of democracy, even though it kind of is. Like, that's not the pitch. The pitch is government can make your life better, and we're going to do that.
I mean, that's definitely reflected in Kat's campaign. Like, very thankful to be involved in that. And one of the rules of the campaign, like, those of us who work on the campaign, a lot of us moderate the Discord for the campaign, which has thousands and thousands of members. I mean, it is incredibly large. There are a lot of very active people there. It is a lot of work to moderate that server. One of the rules is we don't talk shit about other candidates for any race, even the
that's awesome.
Even the Illinois race. Yeah. It is a general rule. It's like, let's win on principle. Let us give a vision of hope, of positivity, of these kinds of things. And as far as, shit talking Trump or somebody, sure, whatever. Like,
fine.
But as far as like shit talking other Democratic candidates, even though like a lot of us are, to the left of them, a lot of us are critics of all of that, we're just like, let's keep it positive. Let's focus on what we can do instead of the fault finding we're seeing with other people. Because I mean, that's a big part of how we got to where we are, right? Is people had like a lot of gripes, sometimes legitimate, sometimes illegitimate, with a lot of different people, and they became miserable, and they immiserated the rest of us along with them.
Yep. Wonderful. I love that. I love that rule. That's
wonderful. Me too.
I mean, as somebody who shit talks candidates a lot online, I like that rule for a Discord. But
I also shit talk candidates a lot on my Blue Sky and on here, for the sake of the Discord, and I actually feel better when doing that. So,
isn't it
weird? Like if I'm just focused on the good things that I can do, I think that helps a lot. And I feel like that's sort of in the zeitgeist lately. You see that with Zoran, you see that with Kat, but I've also been seeing that in film. You know what I mean? The Superman movie that came out recently.
Yeah.
Like, that is a fundamentally earnest and sweet movie. And like, a lot of superhero movies, especially like the Zack Snyder DC era stuff, like dark and gritty and edgy, I'm Batman and like all this other shit. Suffice to say, I do think Ben Affleck would have been a good Batman, but that's another tangent for another time. A lot of that stuff was out of the character of who some of those characters were. Batman, he's been up and down, but Batman only became that gritty and dark in the 80s. You know what I mean? Like Batman was sort of a silly, campy guy prior to that. Superman never went dark.
No,
there are some dark Superman stories, but Superman isn't the dark guy in the stories. In fact, the only stories that I've read where Superman is dark are alternate universes in which something else was different about him. Like, there's stories about like a Ultraman who was a Superman that snorts kryptonite instead. And
oh my God,
love those stories.
Was this during the Dare era? It had to be, right? This had to be.
No.
Really?
That was 2012, 2013. That was like part of the New 52 era of DC.
Wow.
Great comic. But basically an alternate universe version of the Justice League comes and runs shit, and then the villains of the normal universe have to fight against them. It's a cool series. But like Superman though, this is a character that has been like earnest and sweet and lovable and like loves immigrants and like loves like taking care of people. Like that has been baked into that character since day one. And I know some people are like, he's, woke Superman, but like,
oh my God. Everything is woke. Everything is woke.
Everything is woke, and comics have always been woke. Like if you don't think that comics are woke, you never read comics.
Literally, it makes like so much. The culture nowadays, it just makes you wonder if anybody ever fucking paid attention
to anything ever at any point.
I think a lot of it is a media literacy thing.
I really
a lot of people are just not good at interpreting.
So,
as somebody whose favorite movie is Fight Club, I could not agree with you more. I am in such terrible company because nobody understands literacy or the fact that protagonists aren't always good. Anyway, I have a thing I'd love to talk about.
Yes.
Producer, I'd love to talk about kind of what is bad about living that way. I didn't realize I could have sent you that question early, but it didn't occur to me.
Talk about it. Let's talk about it. Like this is.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I kind of we talked about a little bit like this thing where like if you are less than a genius, you are worthless, and that is like a lot of pressure to put on somebody.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I sometimes wonder, like, would it be worse to be somebody who couldn't live up to that and like that was a C average student, or somebody who did get straight A's, which I did. I was very good at school. I was very good at most things. And the pressure to be that is really intense. And I don't even mean externally, like you internalize it, like this idea that like, if you aren't perfect, you're worthless. You don't deserve to be alive.
That's fucked.
It is fucked. Yeah, I know it's an awful way to live. And it's something that like I'm going to struggle with for the rest of my life. It's just in there, you know, like I've just in the last couple of years, I've had to do a lot of really hard work with like, I'm a workaholic a lot, like, you know, some of Ayn Rand's characters, I have similar work habits. And I've had to really struggle over the last couple of years to try to move myself from a framework of you better do this, you worthless piece of shit, to you're going to do this because you like it and you deserve it. And that's like it's a hard. But you can't, if you're in that, if you're in Objectivism and you really, truly believe it, and you believe that like Dagny Taggart, who does, I mean, she doesn't do amphetamines canonically, but does amphetamines and doesn't sleep and is perfect and is the most desirable woman in the world and everybody wants her, like, and you can't live up to that and you shouldn't live up to that. Like, it's an insane way to look at what is good in this world. You know, it certainly doesn't equip you for like romantic rejection when the female hero of Ayn Rand is somebody who every man falls in love with. Every man who's worth anything falls in love with Dagny Taggart. She fucks everybody. And it's great. So, you know, like
Good
if you,
for her.
Yeah, of course, right? Yeah, it's no Mary Sue there, of course. But like, you know, that it because love is based on principles and rationality, then people will fall in love with you if you're good enough. And if they don't fall in love with you, well, you must not be good enough. You must be a really shit person with bad morals and values, or they would love you. That's a bad road to go down. And
terrible.
Awful. Yeah. No, and I mean, I think this is why people can get so twisted up inside. And I think these are themes that run through the entire right wing. If you are so scared all the time that you don't deserve to be alive, that you don't deserve anything, that you're, yeah. And then you have such contempt for people who are beneath you because they're the ones that don't deserve it. I'm good. Those motherfuckers, those moochers, those looters, those welfare queens, you know, they are the ones that are bad, not me. I'm good. They're bad. And that's like, you know, it's a very fragile tightrope to walk. Like anything that upsets that apple cart can really send you spiraling. And
You're not kidding.
So it's a toxic trap.
I'm glad that you highlighted and or elucidated something that I have always felt. Okay, some of my family is pretty Catholic. Terrifyingly Catholic.
Oh boy.
Anyway, they don't always like the Pope.
Yeah,
that kind of
cool
Catholic.
Catholics. Because I feel like in the Northeast, there are some cool Catholics that were involved in the labor movement and stuff.
No, yeah, they're
like
the opposite.
You know, some of my cousins, you know, totally would be more on that end, and some of my relatives are not there. Anyway,
woke Pope kind of stuff.
Yeah, they're not into the woke Pope. There's some of us who are very into the woke Pope, and then there's some of us who are not. I don't happen to be Catholic, so this is not my problem. I'm Episcopalian, if anything, but I'm not even really that. Okay. Anyway, I'm Episcopagan, I guess. What do you call me?
Ooh,
I don't know.
I love that.
It's weird because there is kind of a weird, like, you can find this kind of person out in the wild, and it's fascinating. We
should talk about religion after
yes,
this.
That sounds like fun. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. No, that was a thing I had to contend with. As I was like, are they gonna do they never want to associate with me ever again? I don't know. Like, that's what it became like in my head. It got built up to that point. I got terrified. And then eventually I just went, you know what? I don't give a fuck. I'm going to live the way I am. Like, it just, it's the only thing you can do. You can't like, and they've moved a little bit on positions that I did not expect them to move on.
That's good.
But like, yeah, it's just, you're terrified of being yourself around people, and that's not good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, feeling like there's something bad about you.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is the other, like when you get something like, Catholicism certainly falls in this. I think evangelicalism does, or Objectivism certainly does, this idea that there is good and bad. There's good people and evil people.
Yeah.
And like this whole, Ayn Rand's, hatred of the good for being the good. All of her villains hate the good for being the good. They're comic book supervillains. So if you should so happen to disagree with somebody who's objectivist, or for example, become apostate like myself, that causes a crisis of faith in the objectivist because, like, am I evil? Am I, hating the good for being the good? And it's taken us a long time to get to a good place. Like, me and my parents are in a really good place right now, but it wasn't like that forever. It was, I think it was really hard because that's not true. There are very few people who hate the good for being the good. Almost everybody likes the good as they see it.
Yeah.
Most people are doing their best.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a way to cut off conversation, like, oh, you're just a bad person. The end.
Yeah.
I know what you are,
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
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 You had mentioned that your family wasn't fans of Trump. Is there something in specific about him that doesn't jive with them? Because I think, Rand was a capitalist, and I don't see Trump as a capitalist. Like, Trump embraces mercantilism, which like we talked about a bit in the first part of the series. I do think that there's something to be said about the fact that like Trump is not a capitalist, right? Like he is embracing a kind of imperialism that is like very like 1800s mercantilist, pre-capitalist economies.
Yeah.
Is that one of the things that drives them, or is it something else?
I think that is. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I think you've just clarified something for me, actually. I think you could maybe divide objectivists into two categories: the ones that are more concerned about people who hate the good for being the good, and the ones who are more concerned about capitalism and individual rights. And my parents are in the second category. They genuinely, they've got, look, the philosophy is everything, but when you focus, what their focus on, I think, is radical individual rights, free markets, capitalism. They want a better world for people. They're not super focused in on hating people. Like, there's the people they don't like. That's not, I don't want to overstate things, but mostly they are focused on wanting the world to be better. And I think those objectivists look at Trump as somebody who, like, he's destroying programs that they don't think should exist, but he's doing it in an ugly way. He's doing it in an unconstitutional way. He's destroying the freedom of this country. They love this country.
Yeah.
And then you've got the other ones where they're just like, well, these damn communists they're going to make us have Atlas Shrugged world. And we got to, Trump may not be perfect, but at least he's going to defeat those damn commies. And then they go for Trump because who cares what else he's doing? Whatever he is, those awful leftists are worse.
Yeah.
It always goes that way, doesn't it?
It kind of does.
Yeah. No, it turns out any philosophy that centers around hating someone else doesn't usually work out well, even if the person you're hating is awful. It just, I feel like it doesn't do good things for you.
No. Kind of rots your soul.
Yeah.
AKA right-wing talk radio.
Oh, yeah.
We've basically said, is your family still in the movement, right? So essentially,
we've already.
And they definitely are. They have like objectivist book groups, or they read the same books over it. I shouldn't say that. That's not fair. They read Ayn Rand's books a lot, and then sometimes they read other books that are written by objectivists, and they talk about them. And I think they should consider reading different books, but that is neither here nor there. So they're definitely active. They've got a lot of friends that are involved, and some of their friends like Trump, and some of them don't. And I'm very pleased that they speak up about it. I'm glad that they do. But yeah, no, they're still very much in it. So, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we've covered all of these questions.
Basically, we managed to cover them all.
But I do have one more question. So since you had, come out of this movement and gone libertarian, like what pulled you over to the left afterwards?
Yeah. That was a long process. And, people get mad about that. I think it's like, it would be nice if I'd seen the light immediately. And I didn't. It took me a while to realize, why are libertarians such assholes? Hey, this doesn't seem like it works well. Like, I think maybe climate change is real. I think that maybe people are sometimes poor for reasons that aren't their fault. And maybe the playing field really isn't even. And maybe it's not even in ways that like charity can't solve. And over time, bit by bit, it's like the ship of Theseus, right? Like eventually you look and you're like, oh, this is a whole new boat. Like, I think I'm not what I used to be. I had a very brief moment of liberalism and moved past it very quickly. It didn't work for me. I like guns. I don't like the status quo very much. So it didn't work. But I felt like the left is, kind of a democratic socialist kind of place. I think where the state is not tyrannical. I'm not a Stalinist, of course. But, like where it manages these free rider problems. It makes us have public goods. It protects people's rights. It makes it so that everybody can have a good life because everyone does deserve to be alive. Everyone does deserve to live, even if all they do is sit on the couch and eat potato chips all day for the rest of their life. Like their life has intrinsic value. There's a whole universe of thought inside of their brains, and they're irreplaceable, every single human being. And so I think that is what government should do, is make sure that we preserve that miracle as much as possible.
That was beautiful. I like how you answered that. That was beautiful.
That. I feel like that's the perfect place to end this. I feel like that's the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me on. I'll be venting about my childhood trauma.
I'm so happy you came on to do this. I feel like this is like one of those conversations, like I said at the beginning, like I've been wanting to do this for a while. And I was just like, I did not have the will to write a whole libertarianism series for quite a while. Because
I can't believe you're doing this, by the way. incredible undertaking.
Yeah, for people that like don't know about like the writing process for podcasts, I will typically do between 10 and 20 hours of research per episode, and then at least another like 4 or 5 hours of writing. And I don't know how much it's going to take when we start this episode. I actually thought this subset of episodes about Ayn Rand, I thought I knew more than I did, and it took a lot more reading. And it's also like, how do you distill the important parts of that stuff when you have somebody's whole life and legacy? You know, how do you capture that in the way that it makes sense in the story of, you know, we are going from, and, you know, I guess spoiler alert, like we are going from how libertarianism started to the libertarian to fascist pipeline, and to other movements as well, like militia movements and stuff, which are still like nominally libertarian, you know, 3%ers and stuff, but like, you know, fell for the Trump grift. Like they, even if they have not become fascists in an identitarian way, like they have fallen for the okie doke, you know, that they are in that place now. And so I wanted to tell that story, and it is just really hard to do an 11-part story on something like that. So hundreds of hours, but always happy to do it. I love doing this kind of thing. I always feel like I understand the world a little bit better and love people a little bit more when I'm done with any one of these. So,
exactly.
Even when it's miserable. So
the slog will be miserable, but you'll get there eventually.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, so we're talking about these, you know, shit things about Ayn Rand or whatever. But it's also like, okay, but like she's a person. Like the people who believe in her philosophy are people. Steve Ditko, like who was an objectivist, also like changed my fucking life. Like he is not the one that wrote the majority of the Spider-Man stories, but he's the first person to draw Spider-Man. Yeah. He's the guy that made that iconic look, and I think Spider-Man is the antithesis of that idea of Dagny Taggart.
Dork, like he makes lots of mistakes.
He's a dork. He makes lots of mistakes, and a lot of those comic books are moral stories about how to make those mistakes. And the idea of those comics and Stan Lee's morality for those is that you have a moral duty to other people. Like with great power comes great responsibility. That responsibility is not to something, you know, crazy out there. It's not an obscure concept. Your responsibility is to other people. Right. And so, you know, he's just like, I'm going to swing around New York saving people. I don't know. You know, some people write the perfect person into their philosophy or their fiction. And Stan Lee said, what if I write someone everyone can relate to that is wearing a mask, so you could always see your face behind the mask. Ooh, and so you can really, you know, find yourself in this character. And he's always going to make mistakes. You know, he wore the black suit for a while. He fucked up. He left Mary Jane, he fucked Black Cat, you know, all of these things. And still, like, you can find that he will always right himself at the end. You know what I mean? Like, like he finds his moral true north, and that's what makes him a good moral true north, because he makes mistakes and then figures out what to do with them. Yeah,
it's such a human story.
I don't think it's so much a power fantasy. A lot of people characterize superhero stories that way, and I think you get to go on the journey with him of making mistakes, and that's a nice thing. Anyway, anything you want to plug? Anything?
If you enjoy listening to me ramble about random crap, you should definitely check out bandinYourState.com. That's where I do my little Substack stuff. You can find me at Laura Jedeed at basically every single platform. There is the only one Laura Jedeed, so I'm very easy to find. And hit me up.
Yeah, and we'll plug this in our episode. And thank you to all of our Patreon subscribers. You guys are the best. You keep us going. This is not just not just a time-consuming thing. It is also an expensive thing. So please subscribe if you like us. And thank you so much. And we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.